This is my first YouTube video, guys. It's something new I'm trying. I'm not really accustomed to it yet, so it's definitely a work in progress, but I hope you guys like it. I am going to go over my top 10 PS2 games of all time that I consider to be the best. So my rules for the ratings: I won't list all games from a series, but I will list the game I consider to be the best out of all of the games within the PS2 generation. The reasons I picked these games isn't just because of like how well they've done, but honestly around their general feel, their gameplay design, how popular they were, and their progression, so on and so forth. Though this list is tiered, generally a lot of the games I consider to be sometimes better than some of the others, so like my opinion of my list generally changes all of the time. I had a hard time trying to put this together, to be honest, because I know it's going to be like all over the place in some aspect, but overall I still feel like where I put it now is still good. Before we begin the video today, I want to go over some honorable mentions, which you'll see on the screen soon. So, starting off, number 10, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. See, now The Two Towers was a game I played during my childhood. I don't remember much of the games personally, which is probably why it's so low down the list, but I know it made a huge impact for gameplay design with its leveling system and how it felt so close to the films that it was like, it felt good to play. It felt like you're watching the film in a game. It felt really good. The leveling system, I feel, was a major aspect to what made that game good. You felt a general progression in gameplay as you leveled up, and those games were actually hard. I really enjoyed those. They were very hard. Number 9, The Sims Busting Out. Now, The Sims has had a lot of games come out for the PlayStation 2, but I feel like Sims Busting Out especially has a very special place in my heart due to the fact that it was probably one of the few that had its own story progression. Citing that of Sims the Urbs, but honestly, I really enjoyed that game. It felt like it had its own story, which most Sims games don't have these days. The entire game itself was based around starting off as like, you know, your basic Sim who had nothing, and then you just go all the way up to defeating the main villain. It was a very difficult game, but I feel like it deserved to be on this list. Number 8, Dynasty Warriors 3. Now, Dynasty Warriors, especially the third one, I played a lot during my childhood on a demo disc, because they used to let you play one mission for about 20 minutes, I believe it was, and I would spend so much time just playing that over and over again. The feel of gameplay, of you just absolutely crushing enemies left, right, and center and trying to control points of the map just felt so good to me that I think it definitely deserves to be on this list. Dynasty Warriors was very new to me. I feel like it was its own unique style that we hadn't seen, although like games of it came out before. Dynasty Warriors 3 definitely made a huge impact in my life, and that's why I think it definitely deserves number 8 on the list. Number 7, Need for Speed Underground 2. Now, Need for Speed 2 was definitely an innovative game compared to its predecessor. It had open world for what you would consider to be open world at that time, but it also had a generally good feeling to it. Never did you feel like you were ever out of the game. You were always on the move, trying to find the next big race, always trying to upgrade your car to be better than everyone else's, which was what I enjoyed about that game. I think it's probably the best racing game, I think, of the PS2 era. Number 6. Now, this game, I think this game, honestly, it has to make the list. No amount of pizzas could get squished over this game. Spider-Man 2 was one of the best Spider-Man games of all time. Honestly, the only game that has reached it in its peak, I feel like, is the new Spider-Man game. Spider-Man 2 felt so good from the get-go. You always wanted to swing around the city all the time. The mechanics for the game definitely felt really good compared to Spider-Man 1 because you had to be close to buildings to be able to use your web swing, which at that time really blew your mind because Spider-Man 1 you could swing in the air forever. You didn't even need to be near buildings for it to work. Had a great storyline, good progression, good leveling up systems. It left me feeling good once I finished the game. Honestly, I would love to go back someday and just play again. Number 5. Now, this game that I'm going to say, a lot of people may roast me for it, but I consider Grand Theft Auto Vice City the best one of the PS2 era. I know a lot of people loved San Andreas, but I feel like Vice City had the best soundtrack, a really good feeling, had a really good storyline that felt like it was getting more hectic as time got on. Most Grand Theft Autos do have that, but this, you generally felt it's in set stages, which feels really good because you can feel yourself climbing a ladder, which is what Grand Theft Auto always tries to do. With its unique theme, its unique style, its music, I think it's a whole good wrap for what really interests me. I would not be surprised if Rockstar bring us back for another game, which is what most people predict for the next Grand Theft Auto. And this is why it is number 5 on my list. Number 4, Shadow of the Colossus. Now, I was pretty late to playing Shadow of the Colossus, and I didn't actually get to play it until the remastered collection came out. So I never got to play it from a childhood perspective, so I have a pretty late feel to this game. I believe that the unique style of gameplay has not been matched anywhere since. I would love to see this sort of game come back as its own unique style, its own genre in a way. The main reason this game's so high on my list is because of its unique style that just can't be replicate anywhere else, you know? Now, I haven't completed the full game, so I cannot give it a full review on its storyline, but based on gameplay alone, I can say that the game was definitely really good. Number 3, Devil May Cry. I believe Devil May Cry definitely needs to be up near the top of this list because of its popularity to bring hack and slash to PS2. Now, I could be wrong, but I have not seen another hack and slash game be as popular as Devil May Cry 1 during that time of era. With its first hit of being a Resident Evil IP, which got changed into its own game, Devil May Cry brought a new style to the PlayStation 2. The reason I picked Devil May Cry specifically is because of its ability to bring audio and gameplay into one mesh and develop it into a gameplay style, which is what made its popularity back in that day, which can be considered a core part of its design, and what you've probably noticed in its recent games. It's a big part of what makes Devil May Cry Devil May Cry. With its unique style and gameplay feel, I feel like this could be considered one of the greatest PlayStation 2 games of all time. Number 2, Time Splitters 2. Now, Time Splitters 2 I would consider the greatest game in its entire line. With all of the games coming out on PlayStation 2, it was generally hard for me to find a game I would consider the best out of the 3. But the reason I picked Time Splitters 2 is because it had the best story, it had the best challenges, and also it really made a difference compared to Time Splitters 1 in terms of, and generally felt really good compared to its predecessor, Time Splitters 1. Really felt like it had refined things from the first game. I felt like the only thing that it didn't have compared to Time Splitters 3 was the announcer for custom matchmaking. See, Free Radical Design knew what they were doing when they were developing this game, using controversial humor, many jokes that are considered crude these days, into a jam-packed, multi-universe fun game. The reason I picked Time Splitters 2 for second place is because of its story to be short enough for you to enjoy, with a lot of replayability through through longer endings of the different difficulties. alongside and also with its huge customization selection for matchmaking as well. And let's not forget the map maker that comes with every TimeSplitters game, which was a core part of its design. Free Radical Design really wanted that to be in the game, every single game. I've said this before and I'll say it again, I believe TimeSplitters could honestly come back as the next Fortnite, or be somewhat similar to Fortnite, because if you compare the two, you can honestly see them being very similar in some aspects, if it were to return for modern times. Number 1, Metal Gear Solid 2. I picked this game from Metal Gear Solid 2 for its general influence as a mainline game on a PlayStation series, which still kept going up until Metal Gear Solid 4, maybe even 5, but 5 became multi-console, so it's hard to say whether or not Metal Gear's influence began fading after 4. As you look at it being a general influence of the PlayStation 2, you don't look at one without the other. Metal Gear Solid 2 was one of the best-selling games out of its series, and undoubtedly so, with its really unique storyline, and with its new and improved graphics compared to Metal Gear Solid 1, and its almost eerily scary storyline, which relates very closely to today. People were really hyped to see this game after Metal Gear Solid 1 was a huge successful release, and rightfully so. The reason I'd pick this game for number 1 is due to its changes from previous release, alongside its strong and still extremely relevant storyline today that cast very close to real life. The surveillance of life being organized and controlled by artificial intelligence is something that's still considered dangerous even in today's times, but it's something we consider today to be something of an issue. Metal Gear Solid 2 definitely improved on its predecessor with cleaner and more easier to use UI, improved camera snapping from the first game. One of the main things I think improved Metal Gear Solid 2 was its ability to use first-person shooting. This improved on players' ability to make decisions in the game that are more accurate and precise for what the player needs to do. Overall, I feel like Metal Gear Solid 2 was the best game in this series, and still will consider to be one in the coming years. Right, guys, that was my top 10 PS2 games of all time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I will see you guys for the next video. Cheers.